says 87. 87. What's up, Agent 205? Top of the evening here in Missouri.
exit 188 for Missouri A, Missouri B toward Truxton.
There goes my fuel stop. 332. Went down a penny. Nice. I ain't gonna see that in a hot minute.
Take exit 188, then turn right onto State Highway B. Turn right onto State Highway B, then turn right onto Old US 40 West.
There goes a Smoky Bear waiting for somebody to be flying by.
Take the next right onto Old US 40 West, West Veterans Memorial Parkway. In a quarter mile, turn left onto Camp Ranch Road.
For diesel. That's amazing. At a flying jack.
Left onto Camp Ranch Road, then you will arrive at your destination.
I'm gonna go in the last fuel line. That's what we're gonna do.
Arrived.
'Cause I don't like sticking out. Oh wait, there's another fuel island over there. Holy cow. All the way at the end. Only one problem. There's no death here. Oh, shoot. Yeah. Only on this side. Trump is in Pennsylvania. Who's Donald Trump? Josh, that's going to end you in you got to watch how you say that. That'll put you in Facebook and YouTube jail. Just a heads up. Just a heads up. I know. Just the way you said that, buddy, I would delete that comment if you can. Them comments where you said shot. That'll end you up in Facebook and YouTube jail. YouTube, it takes a while for them to catch up to you. Alright, I'm gonna go get my receipts and my car. And then, let me look at this in the meantime. I got 3.5 hours. And we will be in Brazil, Indiana. slice of pizza while I was waiting there for the creamer. Then I was sitting there, standing there, watching the Big Bang Theory. Got 3.5 hours. Drive time. Nah! For real? I thought that was some kind of bullshit on the stream. I thought it was bullshit. It's a true story. He got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. Huh. Nuh-uh. And I was taking it as bullshit. I'm sorry, Josh. I took it as somebody...
individuals who might be immediately assigned to some of these, those who might be on the short list or those who might be higher profile. And then they're going to be also looking at, leaders in Congress and in fact, it'll go across all of government. Every cabinet member has a security detail. Secret, or I should say the Supreme Court has their own police force. They have security details. So all of this will be increasing commensurately until they figure out what has happened here. They don't know exactly what the circumstances are. And to my knowledge, and Austin, you're watching this closer than I am right now, I don't think they have a perpetrator or perpetrators in custody, from what I gather.
Right now, and what I can say is that we're seeing some initial reporting, and a producer in the room can correct me here. I'm seeing some reporting from the Washington Post to indicate that Trump was grazed by gunfire, but is safe. An audience member, according to WAPO, was killed, and the shooter is dead. Another person is in serious condition. We're working to get that confirmed ourselves, but the Washington Post is reporting that for now. So, just to back up, an audience member, dead.
Okay.
The shooter, dead. Another person in serious condition, according to the Washington Post. So Hal, when you hear that the shooter is dead, what comes to mind? How could this thing have gone down? We really don't have a lot of details to go off of right now.
No, but that's a lot of information, and that really does narrow down the possible scenario. That kind of gives me an idea of maybe where the round may have come from. Obviously, it hit somebody, an audience member. We don't know where in the audience they were, where it came from, but somebody around him obviously was, and that the person was killed. You know, what's not clear here is was somebody else possibly wounded. The fact the shooter is dead, that could be a couple of things. You know, in some cases, they will take their own lives. In other cases, it could be, what we didn't see was when you heard that initial...
Take the next right onto Camp Ranch Road, then turn right onto Old US 40 East.
Law enforcement or Secret Service out there taking down the shooter. So we're getting a lot more information as far as what this is looking like. And the fact that they have shot the shooter, or they've taken out the shooter, means that they're doing a deep dive to figure out everything around them.
Take the next right onto Old US 40 East, West Veterans Memorial Parkway.
Wherever they live, they're going to be looking at that. They'll also be doing a very deep dive on all their social media. They'll be looking at...
In a quarter mile, turn left onto State Highway B.
There may be connections that just aren't apparent right now that they're going to find.
All right, Hal, so we continue here to show some more of that footage from earlier today. I do want to bring up this, though, breaking news. It has been confirmed by the Associated Press. We have here shooter dead and rally attendee killed at Trump event in Pennsylvania. Butler County District Attorney tells the 8...
Take the next left onto State Highway B, then turn right onto the I-70 East ramp.
Just joined us. I do want to go ahead and re-wrap that entire chaos, that incident that happened earlier today. We have been showcasing on the screen, but of course without sound, and I think it's very important for the audience to just hear in full exactly what happened. So I'd like to play that out for everyone here next.
And look what happened.
Turn right onto the I-70 East ramp, then merge onto I-70 East.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look what happened.
his hand.
Butler of Pennsylvania there at a campaign rally for the former president. We do have a breaking news at
I'm
this moment.
choked up,
Courtesy of
dude.
Blake Hansen over at Fox News. Here he says the AP is confirming shooter dead and rally attendee killed at truck event in Pennsylvania. Butler
What does Trump say?
tells the AP.
Let me get my
Let's
shoes.
continue on dissecting this entire chain of events and where this investigation goes from here.
I am
Joining me
glad
once
he
again,
raised
Dr.
his hands up to the
and also
people
national
to let them
security
know that he was
expert,
okay.
counterterrorism analyst, and also someone who has worked closely with the Secret Service, Hal Kemper. Austin, I understand that you also had some comments to make about this breaking news and something you would like to ask Hal.
So, I'll just reset real quick for the folks that may just be joining. Donald Trump's campaign says that he is, quote, fine after being whisked off of the stage after those apparent gunshots rang out. The quote that the campaign sent out says that President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. We've also heard from the Secret Service in a statement that says that the former president is safe. We do know that President Biden has been briefed on the matter. He's met with the director of the Secret Service. He's also met with the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. So, Hal, my question for you, we're talking about a rally attendee being killed. We're working...
Wow, dude. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. I really can't believe it. I really cannot believe it.
And again, that moment of chaos, you hear the screams in the crowd as people are beginning to learn that something is amiss there. Our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, is with us on the phone. He continues to get
I had to go to NBC because that's his double B.
Works. So while I'm on the phone with you, one of my colleagues is on the phone with the local district attorney in that county who tells NBC News that the alleged shooter, the person they believe is responsible for this event, is in fact deceased. So again, to repeat, the local district attorney in the area where the Trump rally is telling one of our colleagues right now that in fact the alleged shooter, the person they believe to be responsible for this, is deceased. We do not yet have a name or identity of that individual. We don't know their background, where they may have come from, any sort of personal motivations. That's information we're still trying to gather. But that's the headline. The second component of this, 3 senior U.S. law enforcement officials tell myself and colleague Jonathan Dean that there appear to have been, so they're looking into whether or not several other individuals were shot that were in the crowd. Those are not individuals suspected to be involved in this. Those were either rally goers or bystanders, but they're looking into whether at least 2 other individuals were shot as well. So that's the latest update that would seem to indicate to us a couple of things. One, they believe they know who did this. They believe they know where they were, potentially what they were using, and they can now start to do a lot of detailed investigative work. We don't know, although there is no indication at this time, that any other individual is involved. But obviously, it's very early and very preliminary on that front.
Yeah,
And a lot
Josh.
more work will presumably need to be done.
Yeah, let me just follow up
I'm
with that. I
sorry.
think you didn't answer the question, but we did hear from one witness a bit earlier who...
I'm sorry I
seemed to
reprimanded
believe
you
that
on
there
the
were two
air, but
individuals
I did not
involved.
know.
You're saying that the local DA is saying one shooter is deceased, so the belief is that it is a single
I thought
shooter?
you were just being
The belief at
sarcastic
this
or
time is that
something.
that's the case, because what they said, responsible is deceased. So they did not indicate that there were any other individuals. But that's, again, Lester, as you well know, we're less than 2 hours into this, and so there's a lot of information, a lot of things that are fluid on the ground. And just because this individual may or may not have been assisted by others at this rally, did they have any sort of help in any other way? Those are big questions that'll be answered. The answer in the next couple of minutes or hours. Typically, based on past events, as you know, this is usually just one individual that's involved. But of course, investigators have to keep their minds open, and as reporters who are relying on that information, the investigation is
Josh.
going on in our
I'm
own
sorry.
homework,
I'm
and we're
sorry to
keeping our
you.
minds open, too.
And Tom,
what
you
I'm
and your team
saying.
certainly have a huge depth of experience in these kind of breaking news matters, especially when they involve issues like what we're seeing play out here. Is it likely this thing is going to unfold very quickly, that they will work backwards from the moment of the shooting and have a pretty good idea of what they're dealing with?
So let's take the law enforcement worst case scenario with respect to the investigation. If this individual had no identity on him, no sort of background, the FBI would be able to instant fingerprint him at the scene. They would be able to get information, and either that way they'd look into facial recognition to see if they could identify him in any sort of government database. From there, you might know where the individual lives, any relatives. They will comb through every inch and ounce of his social media. They'll have the ability to go to social media companies and ask for an emergency warrant, and they will most certainly be granted to get access to those communications, cell phone communications, text communications. All of that will be part of the instant investigation.
I apologize to ask you a question and I have to interrupt you, but we are getting some confirmation. The Butler County DA is now telling us that one spectator has died in this incident. One has been apparently wounded and is in critical condition, and the shooter, as Tom has been reporting, is dead. So, to repeat that news, and this comes via the Butler County DA, one spectator at this Trump rally is dead, another is in critical condition, and the shooter, what we believe right at this hour, the lone shooter, is also dead. And as our colleague Tom Winter was reporting, they will work very quickly and work backwards, and will likely know a lot about this individual in a short amount of time. You see former President Trump trying to acknowledge the crowd while being obviously stunned and being led to the safety of an armored vehicle, but it appears that he is okay, suffering what we've all been able to see, some sort of a graze-type wound to his ear. We hear him, asking for his shoes. He is led away. He continues to turn toward the crowd. He is now clear of that scene as people continue to rally here, trying to rally their spirits. And certainly this was several minutes apparently into the former president's rally there in Pennsylvania when this occurred. Multiple what sounded like shots, pops, but we presume there were gunshots fired in his direction as he was looking to the right, and a little unclear, he grabbed his ear, and then you can see this team of Secret Service agents quickly sworn him, confirmed
He ducked
that he is
down
clear,
pretty quick.
out of danger, the risk nullified, and then he is escorted to his vehicle and to safety. That area you're looking at right now is a crime scene. We've seen subsequent pictures where you see the police crime tape, and they will treat it as any other crime scene and try to get the details of this. We don't know what this means in terms of the exact injury that former President Trump received, what treatment he may be receiving, what this will do to his ability to campaign. We certainly, of course, expect to see him in this coming week as the Republican National Convention is about to begin on Monday in Milwaukee. So RNC officials certainly trying to figure that out. But right now, the greatest concern is from that angle is the health of the former president, and of course thoughts also turning now to the one spectator who was killed in this, another spectator who was in critical condition from a wound sustained during all this. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh. She has been giving us plenty of updates here. Dasha, as you've heard, we've now been able to confirm that at least one spectator has been killed in this, and the shooter himself is dead.
Lester, just for those who are joining us in this moment, just a reminder that our team, we were in the press pen when this happened. We were in front of a camera, just getting off camera as the former president started to speak. Just a few minutes into his speech, this transpired. We ran for cover as we were trying to figure out what exactly had happened, initially thinking it was fireworks, then realizing it could be something more serious, and now, of course, we know deadly. I am in the parking lot right now, just outside of this venue. This is where press and general attendees have had their cars parked. This is where we evacuated to when we were told to leave the site that is now a crime scene, and I've been running into witnesses here as people have been trying to find their cars, trying to make their way out, and that is where I ran into a man named Joseph, and I want to introduce him to you now. And as we just learned, Joseph, you weren't listening to the program here, but Lester Holt, NBC News, just reporting that one of the attendees has deceased, has died from injuries as a result of the shooting. Joseph, you told me off camera that you may have witnessed this, and I'm so sorry to be talking to you in this tragic moment, but can you describe what it is that you saw?
I was attending the rally. I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where Donald Trump was President Trump was speaking. I was there with friends. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed, fell to the bottom of the bleachers. Another woman looked like she got hit in the forearm or hand. And then at that point in time, it was rather chaotic at that point because half the people were looking because they thought it was fireworks. I knew it was gunshots right away. My friend, hit the deck. I was kind of looking around just trying to see where the shots were coming from. It seemed to me like the shots were coming from behind the bleachers. It seemed to me the man got hit in the head from behind. He was killed instantly, as far as I could tell. And at that point, a state police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind the bleachers.
You helped carry the man yourself. What was his condition when you were carrying?
He's deceased. He died.
How close were you to him?
A couple yards. It wasn't very far.
Did you know the man?
No, that's a complete stranger. They put a towel over his head and then carried him off.
You said there was another woman nearby who was also injured. Where was she in relation to him?
I believe she was in the bleachers, like either behind and above me or just to the side of him. But it seemed like she was kind of at my flank, and then she flinched, and it looked like she had taken a gunshot wound to the forearm and hand.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard multiple gunshots, 8 to 11 shots. We've been hearing it replayed on the video here. Do you remember, can you tell, I know it was a chaotic scene, but at what point, was it immediately when you heard the gunshots that he was shot, or was it later on into the firing?
The first 7, he was hit and she was hit within the first 7 shots. I counted 7 shots.
What was going through your mind? You were right there. I know it happened so quickly, but what can you tell us about those moments?
First, I was in shock because I know what gunshots sound like, so I knew they were gunshots. I couldn't tell from where they were coming from. And when I noticed someone got hit, then I noticed, well, it seemed like they were coming from behind me, and it just was pandemonium. And then I heard some more shots. I couldn't quite tell where they were coming from, but I counted the first 7, and they were very loud, very close. And it killed one man and wounded another woman.
And Joseph, you told me that you're a doctor, you're an OBGYN. How did that background play into how quickly you were sort of able to assess the situation and know what happened to these individuals and know what was going on?
Well, I told the police when I tried to render assistance. I told the police I could render assistance. They had another physician on the EMT team, so they kind of took over. So they didn't really need me, so I kind of helped carry him down initially out of the bleachers. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't the man that got hit. There was no assistance that needed to be given, and unfortunately, his family witnessed the whole thing. It seemed like he had several family members in the bleacher with him, and they were quite upset. They didn't know. They were in shock. They didn't quite know what's going on, but the man was definitely killed instantaneously.
Could you tell us sort of how many family members or people who knew him were with him, and what was their reaction?
I thought there was 5 people. Two of them were relatively hysterical. So, but they were, when they took the man out of the bleachers, he went to the tent. There was an 8 tent or some type of tent behind the bleachers where they took the body, and they immediately evacuated the family with them. And 2 out of the 5, it seemed like, in shock, hysterical. Like they were still trying to process what was going on.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard the shots. We saw the president go down.
I saw President Trump get hit.
What can you tell us? What details you remember?
It seemed like his head was off to the side, and it seemed like he got nicked in the ear.
Was that before the Secret Service took him down to the ground, covered him?
Right before the Secret Service. I mean, it was maybe, again, it's hard to tell, time dilates when, it seemed like it was a second or two. Like, that first 7 shots that went off, the man got hit, he was killed almost instantly. The woman in the bleachers, she got injured, she got hit in the forearm and the hand. And then in those rounds that were fired, again, I was videoing the event, so that's when I saw Trump get hit. And it seemed to me like he was looking to the side and the round grazed his ear. So.
Could you tell the gentleman that was hit in the head what angle he was in relation to the former president, which direction the bullets were coming from and to?
So it looked like he was facing the president at the very far left portion of the bleachers, so he's directly facing it. Again, it seemed to me like the shots were coming from the rear, behind us. And for me, it seemed like the man was in the way. I guess...
In the way of the former president?
No, it seemed like the man was in the way of the shots between whoever was shooting the gun and the president. The man that was hit, it seemed like he was in the crossfire.
And I know... I know you're in shock and still processing all of this. It's sort of hard to evaluate our own emotions in this moment, but you just experienced something.
Oh yeah, he's going to tell.
What can you tell us about your state of mind right now?
Joe Biden.
Yeah, I've had opportunities to go to these rallies before. It's the first one I ever went to, and time off to go do it. I was kind of excited to go, but it's everyone, it's something you don't expect. It comes out of the blue. It's like pulled out of the blue, and it's shocking. The way politics goes in this country, it just seems like it's really polarized. Everyone's just very angry.
Oh, you've seen the side of his head. It doesn't look like it's just a gray.
To the event with me, I was like,
it was pretty bad.
Behind the bleachers, it's really open. It seems like
it blew off a part of his behind his ear.
Someone really wanted to do something. Again, I was openly talking to her, and I was like, if something was bad was going to be happening, this is the perfect venue to have. I just said this an hour before it happened. I was like, this would be the perfect place to do it. And, surprisingly enough, it happened.
A devastatingly prescient observation from you. Let me ask you one more question, because from where I was, there was confusion, then Trump stood up and there were some cheers, and then people sort of remained, those that weren't in sort of the immediate zone where you were, people were still sort of cheering, talking, trying to figure out what was going on. How quickly, whether or not
I think it was amazing how many AKs and ARs
people sort of started to try
I
to move
seen
on very
there.
quickly,
Like,
not sure what had
holy
happened,
cow,
right?
where the hell did
So
these
how
come
soon
from?
did you know whether or not it was even safe? Did you want to get out of there? What did you witness in sort of the immediate aftermath once the shots stopped?
Well, soon after the shots went off, everyone thought it was a prank. Everyone, I think, got a sense, when I looked out into the crowd, everyone thought I think the initial reaction, everyone thought it was a prank. I knew better it was a gunshot because I just saw a guy get hit. And it did.
For those of us that didn't see, some people started laughing, some people were confused. It wasn't immediately clear to the crowd that didn't witness what you witnessed, that this was, in fact, a dangerous and deadly situation.
Oh, it was a dangerous and deadly situation. The problem is it's a large crowd, and when the gunshots went off, I think they were, again, my sense was they were being shot from behind, so they sounded a bit muffled, so it sounded more like a firecracker going off. So I think the initial reaction from the people around me were like, okay, well, someone brought fireworks. I just knew better. I knew what gunshots sound like. And, you know, when I saw the guy took a gunshot wound to the head, and I saw the woman who got hit in the forearm and the hand, I just knew that it wasn't fireworks. I mean, it wasn't fireworks initially, but I think the majority of the crowd didn't understand that it was gunfire. And I think people took it really seriously when the SWAT team started jumping over the heads. So I don't know what to tell you outside of that.
Joseph, I know this, I can't imagine what it takes to describe what you just witnessed in these moments right in the aftermath. So we thank you so much for sharing.
Happy.
Lester?
Dasha, thank you for that account. I mean, no one should have to, you know, fear for their life going to a political rally, something that is uniquely American. But these people have experienced the horror of someone opening fire on the crowd and the former president, who was, of course, the headliner at this rally tonight. As we've been reporting, one spectator is dead, another is in critical condition. The shooter, this all according to the Butler County DA, the shooter is also deceased. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us again. Kelly, you have a new statement from President Biden.
That's correct, Lester. This is from President Biden, who is in Rehoboth, and he talks about this incident. He begins by saying, "I've been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who are at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety." You can get the income streams of all the relevant information. This first statement coming from President Biden, I would not be at all surprised if we don't hear more from him tonight as new developments take place. Lester?
All right, Kelly, thank you for that. Terry Schultz is with the Butler County, Pennsylvania District Attorney's Office and was at the rally. She is still there and joins me on the phone. Terry, first of all, if you could just walk us through what you saw, where you were in this crowd.
You know what? We didn't have VIP seats. We were a few rows back. Enough that we could, you know, see the former president, and then we were all standing there watching the jumbotron they had put him on. And the next thing we did was we hear 3 shots. I see kind of his head, the former president's head, go sideways. You know, you can see kind of like, you know, blood. And at that point, I wasn't looking at anything. I was with some friends. They were like, "You need to get down. Everybody get down." Some young people crying. And to be honest with you, at the time this happened, I wasn't even sure they were gunshots. But then we heard like 3 or 4 shots, and then we heard shots kind of returned. A friend of mine videotaped that, and we just watched that, and that's what we saw and what we heard.
From your vantage point, were you able to see where the shots were coming from? Was it obvious?
It was not, but you could hear them, and as soon as you heard the shot, your head turned towards the left. We have a route that runs outside the Butler Farm Show, Route 68, and it sounded like the shots were coming from out there near the field to the left-hand side of where we were. So it certainly was scary.
You know, we look at the videotape and it appears some people didn't quite realize what was happening at the moment. Were you one of them who was
glad I ain't going that way.
Absolutely. And again, and so I was with some friends, and my girlfriend is like, "You have to get down." People around us were pulling us down and saying, "You have to get down." So I can tell you that it was chaos at the time.
Have you been to one of these rallies before?
I have not. It was my first time at a rally, and I was certainly excited, you know, to go to one. We had so many people there. But I can tell you the chaos that this created. Everyone was scared. You know, you see the former president and what's happening, and and then when I ascertained what had happened from some of my Pennsylvania State Police friends, it was very scary. But it was my understanding that they got the picture. But that really doesn't make a difference. That it was just scary.
I'm listening to you
understanding
too.
is the shooter is deceased, and again one of the spectators as well, and one critically hurt a spectator, and the former president is going to be okay. But you bring up a point. I think we will all be talking about.
You obviously ain't simply living.
Motivation was for this, but it certainly comes at a time that we are all keenly aware of the deep division.
Simply living. We are here to keep everybody's chin up and their spirits high. Positive vibes. I don't usually do politics, but this is a serious matter.
No, not at all. I guess I know that there's political unrest in the country, but in no way that I think.
But I am listening to
what happened, and what concerns me more it's not
NBC
only political,
on
but,
YouTube.
There are innocent people here, and look what happened, and it should just never happen in our country. It really should not.
Your point is certainly well taken. I know you're with the DA's office.
Like I said, people, I don't normally do politics.
How the investigation is
This
proceeding.
is a fluke. It's a serious matter. And that's the only reason why I have you guys listening to it. I actually thought somebody was getting sarcastic on my
and again, I
thought somebody was trying to be a prankster on my my feed. And it turns out it was a real thing.
This person was in a field that somebody wasn't looking after them, and I guess that's just me and from my perspective of what I do.
Yeah. All right, Terry, thank you very much as we continue to look at some of the pictures of the aftermath. We've shown you some of the still photos as well of people crouched down for safety. I'm not sure at that moment where the threat was coming from. I want to tell you, we are hearing that we will hear from the president. We read his statement a few minutes ago. We will hear from President Biden at some point this evening. We don't have a firm time on that, but we'll keep you honest and let you know when we know a little bit more about that. Meantime, let me bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. Hallie, we're all shocked and certainly saddened of the loss of life here and the injuries, and we're certainly grateful that the former president is okay. But this is going to be a very tough conversation in the weeks coming forward, one we've had on different levels. Share your thoughts, if you would.
Yeah, and none of it, of course, taking away, Lester, from, as you described, the urgency and frankly, the devastation of this moment, given what we have now learned about what has happened at this rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. I can tell you that our team here at NBC News is out to a myriad of campaign sources close to former President Trump. And obviously the latest that we've heard, and you've been reporting this, is that he is okay. He is, in the words of a spokesperson, fine and being looked at. We are seeking more information. I can also tell you that based on a message to staff obtained by our colleagues here at NBC, Alan Smith and Matt Dixon, a top campaign official is telling staff members that everything is okay, that we have no details to share at this time, but saying we'll follow up soon with more information. They are directing staff members to not speak with members of the media. They want what they describe as a total lockdown here. They add that your personal safety is of the utmost importance here. To pray, remain vigilant, and be strong. That is the messaging now, according to what campaign staff members are getting from the top. As there is just, it is always, of course it is chaotic in the moments after something like this happens. And it's also, I think, another reason to be extraordinarily careful in what and how we report what we know has occurred here in what is just a historic day here in the United States.
Yeah, and then of course, Hallie, we are here on the weekend before the Republican National Convention. Obviously, there will be some changes. We don't know what is in effect, but we're hitting primetime campaign season now.
Yeah, we sure are, right? And this is a moment where everybody begins to pay attention, especially considering the start of the convention. I mean, think about it, Lester, not looking at the time here just after 8 o'clock Eastern, not maybe 3+ hours ago. The biggest story that I think most campaign reporters are facing was who Donald Trump picked to be his running mate. That was sort of much of the attention here on this rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The conversation has clearly and necessarily changed very dramatically since then. I think one of the questions moving forward is going to be the movements of former President Trump. How long is he going to remain at the medical facility where he's at now? Where will he head after that? Does he still plan to be at the Republican National Convention starting on Monday? Obviously, that kicks off in Milwaukee with the expectation that at some point between now and of course, next week, he would announce his vice presidential pick. That is obviously taking a back seat to the immediate question of his own health and safety, as he is the presumptive Republican nominee here. And we are going to try to get some answers to those questions just as soon as we can, Lester.
All right, Hallie, we'll ask you to stand by. Thanks. Let me bring in Kristen Welker, moderator of Meet the Press. She's in Washington. Kristen, you're learning a little more from the Biden campaign, their immediate reaction to this.
Lester, we are, and our Monica Alba, who covers the Biden campaign, has this reporting that according to a campaign official, the Biden campaign is pausing all outbound communications and working to pull down our television ads as quickly as possible. And Lester, this underscores part of the conversation we were having earlier, which is that this is a moment that brings the country together in shock and condemnation for this political
Secret Service
violence.
did drop the
We
ball.
are hearing from all quarters of the political universe, including some of those who have been quite critical of former President Trump. Liz Cheney, for example, saying the reports of the shooting in Pennsylvania are horrifying. Violence of any kind has no place in American politics. We are grateful for the reaction of
jumping at you like that,
law
buddy.
enforcement and pray for the
But in all
former
honesty,
president and all those injured.
you don't want to
Similar
say that on
messages
a
from
live
former
stream
President George
because
W. Bush, House Speaker
Facebook
Mike
and
Johnson,
YouTube
and
will
on Lester. And
put
it
you
does come
in
on
jail.
the eve of the Republican National
Will block
Convention.
you
Former
from
President
those
Trump,
platforms.
his campaign apparatus, Republicans all
But in all
over
reality,
the country
I'm
poised
sorry.
to go to Milwaukee
That was-
to officially nominate
I thought you
former
were just
President Trump as their
bullshit,
party's nominee.
you
And as
know?
Hallie was just saying, we anticipated and we were working on trying to determine who the former president would pick to serve as his vice presidential nominee. And now, of course, the focus has shifted to this horrifying topic of political violence and what this country needs to do to prevent something like this from happening again, Lester.
All right, Kristen Welker. Kristen, thanks very much. Let me reset here for our viewers just joining us this Saturday evening. We are on the air with breaking news. There has been a shooting at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally this evening. The former president has been injured. How he was injured is not clear at this time. I want to pause here. We're going to roll the video of what happened just shortly after 6 p.m. here in the East while Mr. Trump was speaking. Here it is.
Oh, that chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look what happened.
Let me get my shoes.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold up your head.
Watch out.
I want to bring in now Evie Pohm, of course, a former Secret Service agent. We thank you for joining us again. We hear at one point, I didn't hear this in the earlier recordings, we hear at one point one of the tactical clothed individuals say the shooter is down. As you watch that unfold,
No, it was
I
6
think they were
o'clock
not prepared to
Eastern.
move him until they
of communication, and the communication is very clear and succinct. Can we move? Are we clear? You hear shooters down, and you hear, are we clear to move? Clear to move. So you're hearing them speak to one another. And radio communication is one of the most important things. Actually, when it comes to comms, you always want to say less. So you can hear them using very simple words, 3-4 words. They just want to keep those airwaves clear so that the most important vital communication can pass.
In 2 miles, use the 3rd from the right lane to take exit 2, 322, 32B for I-270 north toward Chicago.
You're supposed to be a human shield, and in that moment, that is what they become. They become human shield. Your job in that moment is to protect your protectee, whoever that protectee is. So they all encompass him. And the other thing you do, you are designed to actually make yourself as big as possible to make sure that any potential rounds or shots that come, you don't want them to miss you and hit your protectee. So as they're hunkered down, they're locking him down. And if you look at the shot, actually, there's a shot where you can see the front of the stage, and around it you'll see that design, that almost like a smaller, like a design berry. It's got the flag around it. That typically, and I can't say whether it is or is not in this case, but in some scenarios when you work as a side agent, you will pick a barricade that's actually something strong and sturdy. It could be concrete or steel. Usually it's some type of steel, and that is used for that when something does happen, unfortunately, like we're seeing here, they can actually get down to the ground so that they have some type of cover.
Abby, thanks. Really important information we're learning from you.
In a half mile, use the 3rd from the right lane to take exit 2, 322, 32B for I-270 north toward Chicago.
Podium, and we believe this is in Delaware, so they can confirm for me. But he will address the nation about these events tonight in Florida. The shooting.
Use the 3rd from the right lane to take exit 2, 322, 32B. Then use the left lane to take the I-270 north ramp.
The shooter, who has not been identified, we know nothing about that person's background.
Use the left lane to take the I-270 north ramp.
Deceased as well. This story has been rolling out, and here is the president.
Continue for 3/4 of a mile.
That's the situation based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick.
In a 1/4 mile, use the left lane to take the I-270 north ramp to Chicago.
Be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that people and we have more detailed.
Use the left lane to take the I-270 north ramp.
I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back.
Continue for 113 miles.
If I'm not able to do it, if it's not convenient for you all. The bottom line is, the Trump rally, the rally that we should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. I mean, everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. So far, it appears.
Assassination attempt.
I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure.
Was the security failing?
These 2 spectators were shot. One killed, another who was in critical condition, and again, the shooter we don't know a lot about right now is also deceased. Let me go back to Kristen Welker in our Washington, D.C. bureau. The White House getting out in front of this very quickly, Kristen.
Lester, they sure are, and President Biden condemning this in the strongest terms possible, which is what you would anticipate. He has long condemned political violence. Tried to speak with the former president, who he referred to as Donald. He also noted, Lester, that he is receiving thorough, robust briefings from his national security team, from his federal agencies, and that will undoubtedly continue throughout the night. The White House will undoubtedly need to keep the public informed throughout the night. It comes, as you point out, as they have pulled down and are working to pull down all of their ads, as the Trump campaign is in a media blackout. And it speaks to, Lester, the seriousness of this moment, the gravity of this moment, the fact that, quite frankly, something has just shifted in our American politics,
Yes,
in our
thank
country.
you, Brian.
This act of political violence, which, as the president said, cannot and will not be tolerated, and it does come as everyone is preparing to go to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, another event that will be met with heavy security. The perimeter there will be quite strong, quite large. Getting into the actual area where the convention is taking place will undoubtedly require going through magnetiles, making sure that no one is armed going into that event. But again, Lester, this just underscores, I think, that something fundamental has really shifted in our American politics.
Yeah, it's been, it's certainly, the threat has been talked about, but to see it play out on this scale is certainly horrifying. Kristen, thank you for that. We'll go back to you in a bit. Let's bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. You have a statement from Donald Trump Jr., the former president's son.
Yeah, via a spokesperson to our colleague Peter Nicholas, that listen, you heard President Biden say he tried to reach former President Trump on the phone. We know that the former president's son has spoken with him in a statement saying they just talked on the phone. But Donald Trump Jr. is saying that his dad is in great spirits, that he will never stop fighting to save America, no matter what in Donald Trump Jr.'s words, no matter what the radical left throws at him. So what we can glean from this, a couple of things. That former President Trump is, as his campaign says, fine. He is well enough to speak. He is well enough to be on the phone, at least with his immediate family members, at least with his son, Donald Trump Jr. We know that he is receiving medical treatment at a local facility with this rally happening, of course, in Butler, Pennsylvania. And we know that there has been a slew of reaction, as Kristen, as you, as others have talked about from both sides of the aisle here, strongly condemning political violence after this very difficult day in American politics. Lester, we'll keep you updated as we get more.
All right, Hallie, thank you. Kip Tom, former U.S. ambassador, thank you for joining us, sir. Can you tell us what you saw?
Well, I was just with the president a few moments earlier before he came on. But when he walked down that red carpet and walked up to the podium, after he spoke for about 10 minutes, I was sitting in the front row at the end of the runway, but all of a sudden these shots broke out, and I think there was people that actually thought it was possibly fireworks, but I seen the gun smoke, and obviously there was a person about 15 foot behind me that was hit. So I think severely wounded at the least, but nonetheless, the crowd stayed pretty calm for the most part, and but you know, it sounded like there was 6-7 shots to start with, and then it seemed like there was a little pause, and then we heard a different caliber gun fired, which I assume is probably the Secret Service, but then I thought I heard another couple of rounds come off, but it felt like it was behind me, but it could have been the echo.
Did you hear did President Trump say anything?
No, he was just giving the typical rally speech that he typically does everywhere, you know, and trying to encourage voters to get out and vote, and talking about his plan for America.
But as the shots rang out, did he cry out? Did someone tell him to get down, or was that instinctive?
Yeah, we heard that. We heard everybody say get down, but I think he was already going down. That's when everybody thought at first maybe he had been hit more severely than he was. I mean, it's already severe. And let's face it, it hit his ear. It could have been a little bit closer. It could have been disastrous. But when he went down to the ground, then he got up. He put his fist up in the air and his hand up in the air, so we knew he was okay.
There are presumably, at least it appears to be, a lot of people in that crowd. By now you have heard that one spectator was killed and others critically wounded. Has it settled in of how close a brush everybody in that arena or setting came tonight?
It's a county fairground.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot. It was interesting listening to the people as they departed the scene, and you know what was going through my mind, and of course being a little older than many of those that were there, but I was recalling the Kennedy assassinations and some of the other attempts that were made during my lifetime, and I was recalling those and thinking about those, and then moving forward to where we're at today, and we still have a problem with this. So it's shocking, but most people pretty upset. There's no question about it.
Understandably. Ambassador, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We're glad you and yours are safe after this tonight. Retired ATF Special Agent Jim Cavanaugh is with me. By now, as you know, we've been reporting that the shooter in this case is deceased, presumably shot by law enforcement. I think the next question will be, is this a lone operator, the proverbial lone wolf, or is this part of some kind of conspiracy? Those are two different things. How will they begin to get, at least put the dots together?
Yeah, well, let's start with the deceased shooter, Lester, and identify him, and then, sweep his personal devices, phone, computer, etc., for, associates, confederates, and start interviewing around the circle around him. You
Yes.
dug out a lot from the reporters and the witnesses since we last talked.
This is actually 270.
It appears that maybe the shooter. It seemed like to me, watching the video closely, that the first shot or two is where the President Trump reacts.
Hey, Jim, let me just stop you for a second. I just received a new piece of information that I want to get your thoughts on. We're now, from a confirmed source, that the shooter was actually firing from outside the perimeter. That changes a lot in terms of the security posture of these things, doesn't it?
It does, but what's surprising to me is that a shooter could get in an elevated position at any kind of a Secret Service event, because the first thing that the service does is they get all the elevated positions, and they put their sniper teams up there and lookouts with binoculars and rifles. So it does seem from the witnesses that this was a distant shot now, that the reason the shot wasn't as loud, it was further off in the distance. And it looked like, watching the video, Lester, closely, that when the president turned his head to the right, the first shot or second shot, the first pop or two, is when he grabs his right ear. And then he, on his own volition, goes down, squats down. No, he doesn't fall down, he just squats down. But you can see at that same moment that the spectators behind him are also hunching down as a normal reaction to gunfire. And then there's more rounds right after that. There's maybe another 5 rounds. And Dasha Burns had a witness that she just interviewed, and he talked about, he counted 7 rounds. And that was close. I don't know, can't tell the exact number. I have to listen to that audio very, very closely. But I mean, that sort of jives with what the witness said. So it looks like we had an assassin with a rifle outside the security perimeter. That's why you had mentioned earlier, magnetometers. Well, if you never breach the security perimeter, nobody checks you. And the first shot or second might have been the one intended to kill the former president, but it grazed his right ear.
Yeah, Jim, let me bring back up Evie Pomporis, a former Secret Service agent again. Evie, thank you for staying with us. I'd like to get your reaction to the fact this person was firing from outside the perimeter. That raises a lot of questions about how these areas are secured.
That's one of the most difficult things when you do outdoor sites. So when we spoke before, when you look at it this way, when you're in a closed environment, even if it's an arena, at least you're in a closed environment, I only have to worry about what's on the inside. When you do open rallies like this, right, you're outside, you have to worry about line of sight issues. Line of sight is a massive problem. Why is it a problem? Because somebody can be out in the distance and really engage your target from a long range. And there are weapons out there that allow you to do this. So even though, let's say you hunker this whole area down, you've got the magnetometers, you've got the tactical element, everything's locked and tight, how do you secure that outer perimeter? How far do you go? And can you cover everything? That's a problem. These are probably, of all the types of advances you can do, these are probably the least favorite amongst Secret Service agents, because you have the inability, and even if somebody is in an elevated position or not, how do you secure all those elevated positions when you have weapons with the capabilities that are able to shoot long distances?
Yeah.
This is what you are up against.
Yeah, and you point about weapons that can shoot long distances. We tend to think of those as long guns, things that stand out certainly in a crowd, whether no matter what side of the fence you're on. The fact that this person is at some distance was able to strike the former president, does that suggest some ability beyond the average gun user?
Well, that would be interesting to see, right? Because it's hard to speculate at this point. How far was that person? One of the things that lead me to think that this person
Crossing
was
the
at a distance,
Mississippi
when we
River,
hear the
people.
gunshot, it sounds very faint, very soft, right? It sounds like an echo. That's why so many people mistook it for fireworks. That's why a lot of people weren't sure it was a gunshot. So when you hear the shot like that, it does lead us to believe that it was at a distance, and that's why there's the confusion. I do want to say this, which is really interesting as I watch this. When you do security for these events, one of the greatest concerns are the people inside and stampede issues. And what I have to acknowledge is all these folks held steady and fast. We don't see people really losing it. We don't see people stampeding.
Welcome to Illinois.
The danger of the attacker, of what's going to happen. The danger a lot of times can come from within. So I really have to comment on everybody's ability to stay put, to not panic, and to allow the Secret Service, and also look at where that motorcade is. That vehicle where they exit him out, there's people all around, and you see everybody hold their position and allow the security team to evacuate.
Yeah, Abby, thank you for that. I should note, several years ago, working on a story for the Today Show, I went to the Secret Service training facility outside of Washington. They put me through a simulation in which I was the protectee, waving to a crowd when shots rang out. Driving off was stunning, even though I knew it was going to come. So the training is obviously something they do. They prepare for these kind of moments. I'm sure there'll be a lot of soul searching about what happened in this case, but impressive group of folks who put their lives on the line for these protectees on a daily basis. Abby, we'll get back to you in a few moments. I want to go back to NBC's Dasha Burns. She's outside that Trump rally. She was there when the shots rang out. We're obviously grateful. You and the rest of our team are fine, the other journalists, but we do recognize 2 spectators were hurt, 1 killed, another in critical condition. Dasha, you have had some pretty heart-wrenching interviews today. People saw a lot of things you can't unsee.
Yeah, Lester, that's absolutely right. People who came to a Trump rally, some of them for the first time, looking forward to seeing the former president. There was music playing, people selling merchandise, people eating food, people reuniting with friends here, not expecting anything like this. Let me just set the scene for you right now. We are in the parking lot outside of the venue. Sirkin, our cameraman, is going to show you. People are kind of in a traffic jam right now. This was a one-way in, one-way out kind of road situation. This is Butler County. It's a pretty rural county. Not a lot of big highways, not a lot of big roads. So people have been, I mean, this is now hours later, and many people still waiting to get out and still waiting and processing everything that they've experienced. I want to introduce you to Tracy, who is stuck in this traffic jam right now. Tracy and Tyler, they're high school friends. They were right there. And Tracy, we've been hearing some of these stories. Can you just walk us through what you saw?
Absolutely. President Trump was up there, and then within 5 minutes we're hearing pop, 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 pop. And then everybody's on the ground. Everybody's on the floor. And it was just like, what? And we were on the ground level. We were 4 rows back from the stage. And are you coming?
Just follow along with you. They're moving in the car here, so we'll just follow the
stage. And the people in the bleachers behind us, somebody got popped. Somebody got killed. Somebody died. Somebody got shot. Like, this close to where we were. Those bullets, I pray to God for these people's families. Oh my God. But how is this happening in our country today? And why? Why is it happening? Why?
And Tracy, you were telling me earlier, you and Tyler, you know this county, you know this area. Did you ever think something like this would happen here?
90
Never.
degrees, according
Absolutely
to my dashboard.
Never. This shows you how much hate and hostility is in our world today. This is not a good thing. We need to all come together.
Have a great night,
as a
Bob.
human
Be
race,
safe. God bless.
We need to help each other.
I only have
Can you
2 hours and
describe
21
this area,
minutes
this
available.
County, this place that you and Tyler grew up?
Tyler? Cows, chickens. This is farmland. This is farmland here.
Butler, it's the county seat, but most of the counties are in farmland. it's people are pretty easy going.
And Tracy, we talked about, often Trump rallies, people are coming to celebrate, to see the former president. They're coming in with a pretty excited attitude. Can you walk me through what you came in with and what you're coming out with?
I came in with hope and excitement. Have you ever been to a Trump rally?
Oh, we cover them all the time.
Well, how does it make you feel?
How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel absolutely great and wonderful. In my heart, I feel that this man really wants to help our country, because I really feel that. I honest to God, I do, because this country for so long seems to be going down a path that it really shouldn't be doing.
I mean, you came in to hear the former president speak, someone you're a fan of, and what is your state of mind now?
Not good. There's too much hate. This is too much. We can't do this as a country. We can't do this. We need to come together as a country, and God willing, we will. I don't know if you're allowed to put that stuff on, but listen, ma'am, my kid is a fourth-year seminarian, and he prays for this country every day. My child.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you and Tyler are safe. Drive safe. We hope you get home soon. Thank you. I appreciate you. Lester, they've got a ways to go still. There's a lot of cars piling up here. There are a few different places that people are trying to exit at this point. A bit of a free-for-all, but people have been kind and generous to one another. People letting cars in that are trying to come in. And again,
it's nothing like Chicago.
Just from what they witnessed, some people very much firsthand, very much very, very close to the tragedy that we're describing from sort of the law enforcement point of view, the high-level point of view. But at the end of the day, Lester...
No, because it's probably fact.
On the ground,
it's a fact.
Particularly those who were close to that violence.
Now, if it wasn't
something they are never going to forget, and it's now associated, of course, with politics, with the state of our democracy for so many of the people that we've been talking to, Lester.
All right.
It don't matter, Josh. We got Facebook, buddy.
Accounts from folks.
If you do get in trouble, you come over to Facebook.
Joining us on the phone now, she is in Butler, Pennsylvania.
And we'll back you up.
Near the hospital where there is heavy law enforcement presence. NBC News has not confirmed that the former president is at that hospital, but it's 15 minutes away from where the rally took place. Jillian Franco's there. What are you seeing?
Lester, that's right. I'm across the street from Butler Memorial Hospital. And as you mentioned, we do not yet have confirmation that this is where former President Donald Trump was taken. But there's a heavy law enforcement presence here. Media was across the street. We're shortly getting moved. The hospital is set up on a hillside, and there's law enforcement at the top of the hill looking down. There's also law enforcement at the top of the roof of the hospital itself. When I arrived, there was a helicopter circling the building. Heavy police presence here, Lester. When I pulled up, I asked the officer how they were doing. He said they're hanging in there. Obviously, a terrifying scene here in Butler tonight. Lester?
Yeah, so the access road is cut off to this area?
It is. We are not allowed to go up there. The police vehicles have moved, but we're not allowed to go up the hill to the hospital itself. And media was staged across the street. They're actually sending us further away from the hospital itself momentarily. So yeah, it was completely blocked off when I arrived here, and still a heavy police presence.
All right, Jillian, thanks very much. Again, we haven't had correct me if I'm wrong from the control room, but I don't think we've had a complete description of the wound suffered by the former president. We have all seen the blood out from near his ear, his right ear. Somebody described as it appears he might have been grazed by the bullet, but again, we haven't received a complete medical terminology description of the wound, but it does appear that he was certainly hit during all of this. He's largely under his own power, certainly being escorted down to the armored vehicle, but again, seems to be doing okay. In fact, we heard from President Biden a while ago, who said that he appears to be okay. We should note that President Biden says he will be trying to call former President Trump at some point here in the not too distant future. And there, the signal of triumph from former President Trump as he was put into that armored car and taken to, we believe, quite possibly the hospital we were just showing you a moment ago. Our investigative correspondent Tom Winter is with us. He continues to dig out fresh details. What more can you tell us, Tom?
Lester, a couple of these Jonathan Deeds. We know that the FBI is now on scene and is assisting the United States Secret Service along with the U.S. Attorney's Office in their investigation into this shooting today at the Trump rally. You were just asking a question about whether we know whether or not the former president was shot directly, either grazed in the ear or in the cheek, or whether or not this was a ricochet. That's something that they're still trying to get a handle on, in whether or not a piece of glass was what may have struck him. But either way, he obviously, from the photographs, was struck in some fashion by something. The other information that you were being told, and I'm going to bring in the reporting of my colleague Kelly O'Donnell on this as well, is some of the information that we're waiting to get on. As far as what you're looking at on screen at the moments that this happened, this is standard protocol. You're looking at the heavy weapons teams that immediately went up on stage. Then you're looking at the Secret Service close protected detail of former President Trump, and this would be very similar at any event involving a former president, that they immediately surround him. Obviously, the Secret Service agents there are putting their lives into their hands if this individual was going to continue to fire. Speaking of the individual that law enforcement believes is deceased, that individual, the alleged shooter rather, is deceased, as I mentioned. That individual may have been shot by law enforcement. That appears to be coming into clarity at this time. We're still waiting on the specific details of that, whether or not that was a counter sniper team or somebody who was close to him. I suspect we'll get more details on that closely. As far as who did this and what their motivations are, there's some background information coming into view, Lester. But as you can imagine, there are a lot of names on social media at this hour. There are a lot of names that have been mentioned to us, and we're really trying to get a lot more clarity on that before we suggest a possible name of the individual who did this. But at this point, there appears to be no ongoing threat, and there's no indication that they're looking for anybody else. But this is now a full-blown federal criminal investigation, as you can imagine.
It does look like it's just his ear. It's a straight line across his ear.
That's obviously something that they will look into. And the type of rifle that can be used, as you imagine, to fire from outside the perimeter to get close to that stage would be some sort of a high-powered rifle. The specific nature of that is, again, details that we're still waiting to get, Lester.
All right, Tom, thanks very much. Let me go to Kristen Welker now in our Washington, D.C. Bureau, who has more. Kristen?
Well, Lester, just to reset for everyone, we are tracking the ongoing investigation that Tom was just talking about in the wake of former President Trump having been rushed off the stage after shots were fired at the Pennsylvania rally where he was speaking. To set the scene for everyone, the day started with the anticipation, the questions swirling about whether this might be the event where he announced his nominee for vice president. Obviously now the mood, the tone, the focus has shifted to this horrific act of political violence that unfolded at this Pennsylvania rally. The former president had not been able to, but is continuing those attempts. He's also getting briefed. I want to go to our senior White House correspondent, Kelly O'Donnell, who is following all of this along with us. Kelly, what's the latest there?
Well, from the Biden White House perspective, this is a moment for trying to get information to the president. He, of course, is in charge of the Department of Justice and the Secret Service that are, of course, the agencies that will be working on this. There is always a careful separation between the executive and the law enforcement capabilities, but that's why the Biden White House has a critical role to play to provide the resources at the federal level to investigate this. The president indicated that he also recognizes that state and local officials are very much involved with this right now. Part of what will be a question going forward is what is the immediate change, if any, to the political calendar that is scheduled for this week, with the Republican National Convention expected to be in Milwaukee with lots of important events. obviously a full assessment of what is the condition of the former president right now. We don't have confirmed reporting yet about the state of that. When he left this event site, as the video indicates, of course, he was taken and has the resources around him for medical care. President Biden has said he wishes to speak to Donald Trump tonight. That can happen whenever the two are able to connect. That is not necessarily a vital piece in terms of next steps, but it is the kind of gesture and important connection that actually does send a message right now that this is not about the politics of the moment and that there are bigger issues here, with the current president and several former presidents talking about no room for political violence. We're hearing that from many elected officials on Capitol Hill as well. And right now we're in a period of a few different streams of information. What is the investigation producing? What is known about the shooter involved? The extent to which this was some kind of an organized attempt? Were there others involved? All of those questions need to be sorted out. Then there's the political fallout. There is typically a quieting period after an unexpected event. Normally in campaigns that would be something far less graphic than this. It might be the death of a loved one in a campaign. It might be a car accident. We've seen all those iterations before, and there's typically a quieting period where both campaigns turn down the volume. Everyone catches their breath before the rigor of a campaign resumes again. So this is a critical evening to gather facts, to get a sense of the scope of this, for direct communication between President Biden as a person and former President Donald Trump as a person, and not so much as candidates or in their office and former office. That's part of what's playing out here. Now, the president indicated he would speak again or communicate again if there were further developments. And there are questions to be identified about what next steps there should be and are all the resources there. Even a question about where does former President Trump go in the immediate hours ahead. He, of course, was on the road as a candidate in Pennsylvania. What is the immediate plan for his next steps? Presidents and former presidents have not only a lot of security around them, but often their homes have additional security as well. So finding a way to safely transport him, making certain of his medical situation, and then the necessary communication between the White House and the former president. Those are the things we're watching. Kristen?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. And as you have been speaking, Kelly, we are watching these chilling, horrifying images of the former president rushed off the stage, bloodied, defiant, that traditional fist pump that Donald Trump is known for as he is whisked away to get medical care. Lester Holt is back with us. Lester.
Kristen Welker, thank you. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally. She was there when the shots rang out, and she is now in a sea of traffic of people still trying to leave that area. Many with some pretty horrific stories to tell. Dasha?
Yeah, Lester, that's exactly right. We've been talking to people who are stuck in this traffic jam and are processing what they just witnessed. I want you to hear now from, remind me your name, ma'am?
Vanessa Asher.
Vanessa Asher. Vanessa, you were very close to the former president when this happened. Can you describe to me where you were and what you saw?
We were 6 rows back, right in front of his podium, straight back. And he was talking about his chart on this side. And he was looking directly at his chart. And when he went over to this one, that's when he was grazed here. He was shot. And if he would not have looked at his other chart, it probably would have got him in the head.
So he turned his head just in the nick of time?
Yes, he did. In the nick of time.
And Lester, let me just explain to you, and I want to follow up with you more, Vanessa, but this is what we were talking about earlier. I'll send it back to you, Lester.
I apologize. Things are moving quickly here. We're apparently hearing from the former president himself. Hallie.
It is in the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. He goes on to say, it is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. He also adds, nothing is known at this time about the shooter who is now dead. The former president says he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. You're looking at that online post now. So he is confirming, he says, that he was shot, something was wrong, and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. And he ends this post by saying, God bless America. So, Lester, some significant questions that are being answered now from the former president here as to what happened, as to how significant in that he is describing in rather vivid detail the moment when he says that bullet went through his ear. He heard the whizzing sound. You're seeing some of these images now, including some that are being circulated by his allies with the former president, his fist raised in the air. He said he felt the bullet ripping through the skin with a lot of bleeding taking place. What we don't know now is where the president, the former president, is headed next. We understand that he is obviously getting treated at that local medical facility. We know from his son, and I will tell you from other sources that I've spoken with, that he appears to be in good spirits. That is what folks are being told, and that his son, who has spoken with him directly, says. And you see the former president able to, obviously in these videos, this image we've been showing, able to move, able to pump his fist, but you see the blood that he's talking about there on his right ear as the former president is describing what happened. Important to note here, he is also, of course, extending condolences to the person who was hurt, the person who is believed to be killed there, and thanking law enforcement for their incredibly fast response. And you saw the response, Lester, and obviously the cameras of every network in the country were on from Dasha, from Jillian, from Jake and Bianca and our teams there as the rest of it unfolded there. So again, Lester, the first statement that we are getting from the former president himself, posted as Donald Trump is wont to do, posted on an online platform there on Truth Social. Get the message out immediately, as quickly as he can, it appears, to the American people that he appears to be okay. As he says that bullet hit his ear, Lester.
Yeah, incredible to look at how close that was to hitting a vital area of him. That first description from the former president himself, Hallie Jackson, thanks very much. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us. Kelly, you have a new statement from President Biden. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go to Garrett Hake right now. Garrett?
Lester, in reading that statement from Donald Trump confirming that in fact he was shot in this incident in Butler tonight, I think about the times that I've discussed his safety with members of his campaign over the last year or so, and there has always been tension and awareness in the minds of Donald Trump's campaign staff, even at senior levels, of the risk that he takes every time he goes out. Campaign officials will tell you that he gets an enormous amount of threats, frankly, as many politicians do across the political spectrum. And that the campaign has worked across this very long period of time since he first announced more than a year ago that he would be running for to hold these kind of mega rallies, these huge outdoor events with his personal safety. They're very cautious about using what is known in the industry as OTR stops, the idea of him appearing at short notice in certain locations where folks cannot necessarily be screened in the same manner that they are by the Secret Service at events like this. And, you know, any presidential campaign thinks about the candidate's safety. It's a major part of the job. You work with the Secret Service for that reason. But this has been front and center. Going back really since before the launch of this campaign. Obviously, an unusual campaign in the sense that here is someone who has never not had Secret Service protection from the moment he was first sworn in 2017 through this moment. And I think looking ahead now, I mean, this is something that we're trying to report out, is what, if anything, is going to change about the Republican convention next week? Obviously, the former president was set to arrive there on Monday morning. He was expected to be across those 4 days. These conventions, as many of our viewers know, are very much high security situations. Downtowns locked down days in advance. Very difficult to go in or out. What will change in the security, and what will change in the messaging of this convention? We've already seen some of Donald Trump's allies, perhaps most notably his son Eric Trump, making use of that image on your screen right now, the fist pump from Donald Trump in the moments after we now know that he was shot, to say that this is the fighter America needs, in the words of Eric Trump and in the words of many of his allies, where I think, you know, setting aside the moment that we're in right now, and especially knowing from the former president's own lips now, or his own fingertips, I suppose, that he's going to be okay. this image of him as a fighter is so central to his political identity, so central to his campaign's strategy, and something that I'm sure will be incorporated into whatever we see of the convention next week. What changes might be taking place right now, Lester, very difficult to say. The campaign is on a complete lockdown, not talking to the press, really working through first what's going on with their candidate and what their next steps will be tomorrow and in the days ahead.
All right, we're looking at a
motorcade
leaving a nearby
whoever
hospital that has been under heavy
the
security
shooter
here,
was,
since
the
all this
assassin
happened.
was,
We have not received confirmation.
was using
that
a
former
BB
President,
gun.
Trump has been treated there. But we did just
Because
see looked like a small motorcade leaving the area, so we'll continue to monitor that picture. Gary, while I have you here, let's talk
his
about
ear
what was likely
would have been blown off if it was a high caliber.
Loss of life. Another spectator has been seriously injured. But this comes as the country and Democrats are still wrestling with the issues over the President Biden's performance in the debate, and now this. I guess it'll take some days to play out as to whether we're looking at another reset and changing how people view this campaign.
I think that's right, Lester, and I think it would be a mistake to speculate on exactly what will go forward now. I can only say where it has come to now, and the campaigns that I've covered in the past, the level of intense focus and scrutiny on this presidential election here in early July is very unusual, especially for an election, I think, that a lot of people had kind of tuned out of. Essentially a battle of two incumbents, two people hugely unpopular outside of their own political bases. There were the questions about whether Joe Biden would continue in this race after that debate performance, a historically early debate, and now an intense focus on Donald Trump, on political violence. We know nothing yet about the shooter or his or her motivations. We know nothing yet about exactly why this event took place.
Something tells me it was a BB gun.
Has been incredibly heated going back for years. I cover Congress in my other role at this network, and the threat level in Congress has been a huge boost over the last several years by several factors over, more threats against members. So the political environment has changed in that sense, and the heat is turned up to a level that we're just not used to seeing in the summer, which is often the doldrums of a presidential campaign. The Veep stakes speculation is typically the kind of thing that folks in my business are talking about right now.
It'll be
News
somebody
only
from
for the
Johnstown.
most dialed in of the political viewers out there. Now all of a sudden,
it appears like it was a BB gun.
Appears to be what it is being investigated as, according to our reporting,
because
is an attempt on the life of a nominee.
In that case, it would have blown off his friggin' ear.
The phrase that we are
would have ripped his ear off.
Is completely worn out, Lester, but here we find it once again perhaps the most appropriate way to view our political dynamics.
It certainly says it in so many ways. Thank you, Garrett. Let's bring in our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson.
Look at his ear. You can see
a statement from the Secret Service.
It went through his earlobe.
Putting on the record officially, Lester, what our team has been able to report out from their sources over the course of the last 2 hours or so. I will read it in full.
Even at 22?
It's important to know what the Secret Service is saying, that during the rally in Butler tonight at around 6:15 p.m., they say a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. They say that Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. The Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and the former president is safe and being evaluated. The Secret Service spokesperson goes on to say that one spectator was killed, two spectators were critically injured, so badly hurt. The incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has formally notified the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And obviously the FBI and the Secret Service have plenty more work to do here on this front. But Lester, again, significant in that this is the official confirmation that, as we have been reporting here, the suspected shooter here is dead. Two people have been badly hurt. One person was killed here in a moment that is reverberating not just in the political world, but around the country, and I will tell you, around the world, with international reaction coming in from world leaders. I want to also share with you some reaction coming in from the former president's daughter, Ivanka Trump, who is posting now in just the last couple of minutes that she is thanking people for their love and prayers for her father and for other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. She says she's grateful to the Secret Service, to law enforcement officers. She continues to pray for our country, ending by saying, "I love you, Dad," again from Ivanka Trump, today and always, Lester.
All right, Hallie, thank you. For our viewers just joining us as we near the top of the hour, we're on the air with breaking news. We have been for several hours now following the events involving a shooting at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally this evening. The former president has been injured. He says he was shot, and he has just posted on Truth Social that he was hit with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. He says he felt it ripping through his skin. What I want to do here is pause for a moment, and we're going to roll the video of what happened just shortly after 6 p.m. here on the East Coast while Mr. Trump was speaking. Listen closely also to the sound of the gunshots and what's heard the moments right after that until he is rushed into the car. Here it is.
A little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want...
It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
And the president saying he plans to call former President Trump. President Trump, we should note, has issued a statement extending his condolences to the loved ones of the rally goer who was killed and another who was injured. He also thanked law enforcement and first responders for their quick action.
Municipal officers, we have a CERT team that was activated for this event.
A hill or just a elevated area?
It's fairly flat from what I can think. But obviously, if you get on a roof, you're at.
All right. Mr. Goldinger, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. We continue to watch these pictures again. We've played them, we know, over and over again, but I feel like you see something different. One of the things in my previous reporting with the Secret Service, you see that woman appears to be around the president. One of the things they are trained to do is to take their hands and then work it across the person's body and find out if there are other wounds that may have not revealed themselves yet. And they certainly do that once the protectee is put into the vehicle again to make sure that they can get an early read on any other traumatic injuries or wounds. So we continue to learn and see different things in this video, but certainly an example of professionalism, calm thinking, and training at work here as we watch these Secret Service agents move into this coordinated action, calling out vital information.
No matter what it said.
Are we clear? And that sort of back and forth communication is fascinating to watch. NBC's Dasha
makes you wonder what the
was there when the shots rang out. She and her crew, we're happy to say, are safe. But you've been talking to people who were in a traffic jam. I don't see vehicles behind you, so it looks like there's some progress, Dasha, in clearing this area.
Yeah, Lester, last time we talked, there were cars all up and down this road here trying to get out of this venue. There were thousands of cars parked all across these lawns here. Now that's cleared up, but we did speak to some of the people who have been making their way out, people who witnessed
what kind of a gun.
This absolute tragedy, and I want to introduce you to some folks who kindly pulled their vehicle over for us so that we could speak with them. This is Stacy and Vanessa, and as you said, Lester, the former president now posted on Truth Social describing how he was shot in his ear, grazed by a bullet in his right ear. Well, Vanessa was right there. You both were right in front of the former president when this happened.
6 rows back, straight in front of him, and at his podium, we could see him really good. He was talking about his chart, and he moved his head to the right to explain where they're at in the chart. And then as he moved his head to look at the chart up on the screen, that's when he got grazed in the ear. If he had not moved his head at that nick of time, it could have been a lot worse.
So he moved his head just in the right moment to get an ear graze instead of something.
Yes.
And Lester, let me just explain to you briefly, because we were on the press risers as the former president was starting his speech at the rally. He was only a few minutes in. What Vanessa's referring to when she's talking about those charts, he was talking about immigration and immigration under the Biden administration. He had screens on the left and the right of him, behind him, and he was pointing to one of those screens where he had a chart that was detailing immigration rates, and he turned to point to that chart, and that is when his ear was grazed, and you've seen this on the video. But to Vanessa's point, if he hadn't made that turn to show that chart, things could have been a lot different. Vanessa, where you were when you first heard those shots ring out, what went through your mind and what happened with you and the people around you?
At first, I didn't know if there were firecrackers. There were 6 pops. It just went pop, 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 pop. And then as I was staring straight ahead, I looked across and I didn't see anything, so I looked back at President Trump, and that's when he went down. And then
what ran through your mind?
That, you know, we are all in a situation that we could be very hurt, and they're telling us to all get down, stay down. And then a lot of things went through my mind. Where's my husband? What about the 3 people that we met today beside us? Who else could be injured? You know, why did this happen at President Trump's? I mean, a lot of things went through my head. Are we going to be out of here safe? You know,
what are you, I mean, you are safe, thank goodness, and I'm so glad you are, and I'm so sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances. As you sit here in your car now, trying to process all of this, what are you feeling now?
I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I'm glad that President Trump is okay. I worry about the children that were at the rally and how traumatized they are after Whitney has seen all this. The little girl that was a couple rows ahead of us, oh, she was petrified. And what's going through her mind? Is she going to be okay, or is she going to have, you know, nightmares? Or
all right.
I worry about children. I worry about the people that President Trump.
Vanessa, drive safe, and thank you so much for being with me since 7 o'clock in the morning. A long day, and certainly not the day that you were expecting. So thank you so much. And Lester, the sun is now setting here in the tragedy of the day is just going to dominate to
the bleachers behind him. I don't know. Saying it looks like a BB, but then you're hearing that somebody was killed instantly. Somebody local. Oh yeah, Eric. I mean, that's horrible. No matter which way, it wouldn't matter if it was Biden or Donald. No matter which way, it is wrong. It is horrible. think the person you heard screaming was a family member, a woman family member